Right now on State of Events, Biden's immigration plan has been revealed, but is it really all that different from Trump's heavily criticized policies? We dive into what this means for future immigrants.
The tragic and seemingly random murder of a London woman was allegedly committed by an off-duty police officer. What exactly happened to Sarah Everard, who was just walking home in a supposedly safe neighborhood?
And a San Francisco landmark reopens a year into the pandemic to finally start giving indoor tours once again. Find out how you can be a part of the fun next on State of Events.
Welcome back to the latest episode of State of Events. I'm Claire Brennan.
And I'm Logan Flair. Thank you for joining us. A man was having what was described as a mental episode, and when left with no other choice, the family of that man called 911 in hope of de-escalating the situation. What ended up happening was far from what they wanted. State of Events' Sawad Balazi has the story from that night and what the family is doing now.
Without thinking, Cassandra Quinto Collins, mother of Angelo Quinto, decided to record Antioch PD arresting her son. He was on the floor and unconscious by the time she began recording. 3 days later, on December 26, 2020, Angelo died from his injuries he sustained during the incident. Now, the family wants answers from that night and justice for their loved one. On the night of the arrest, Angelo appeared paranoid, having one of his episodes, as the family would call them. His younger sister, Isabel, decided to call the police, and that's where the family believed they made a mistake. The family claimed Antioch PD used excessive force on Angelo when he was not resisting. Cassandra and Isabel claimed one officer placed his knee on the back of Angelo's neck, while another officer held down his legs for more than 5 minutes, which ultimately led to his death. The same tactic was made infamous when disgraced police officer Derek Chauvin placed his knee on the back of George Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes. Antioch PD have been silent since the death of Angelo, releasing little to no information. Recently appointed mayor of Antioch, Lamar Thrope, announced a list of reform measures he hopes to implement immediately.
We got to have a mental health crisis response team out there in the community immediately.
According to the Washington Post database of fatal cop shootings, 1 in 5 people who have been killed by the police this year has had some sort of mental illness. So when someone's having a mental crisis, the only option is to call 911. And in most cases, like Angelo's, more harm will be done. For more updates on Angelo's case, follow Justice for Angelo on Instagram and Twitter. With State of Events, I'm Sawad Balazi.
Many people and Democrat representatives are confused as to why President Joe Biden would reactivate the Trump administration's plan to have immigration holding camps. The future for immigrants and what these camps will look like is a mystery. More with the story is Alexis West.
Last Tuesday, the Biden administration informed us that the U.S. plans on having more immigration apprehensions on the southwestern border this year, as the number of immigrants crossing the border has surged following his presidency.
You have to say quite clearly, don't come.
Yes, I can say quite clearly, don't come. And what we're in the process of getting set up, don't leave your town or city or community.
During the current fiscal year, starting October 1st, Customs and Border Protection has recorded more than 396,000 migrant crossings, compared to around 201,000 during the same period last year. The debate from both parties range from urging for tighter control over crossings and the need for a wall to more humane conditions from the left. With the amount of unaccompanied children also crossing, the Biden administration reopened camps to shelter them. They directed the shelters to increase the number of beds by nearly 40% and have even began using unconventional means of shelter. The Dallas Convention Center in Texas and a NASA site in California are currently being used to shelter the children. Ashley D. Aaron, who is a professor and in the Department of Race and Resistance Studies at San Francisco State University, told us why the camps are not suited for this day and age.
I think that for us to really be able to reimagine a humane immigration policy, it means that we have to undo things that may be politically different or politically difficult. So I think that there's kind of a fear and an uncertainty of alienating maybe voters or fellow politicians around if we get rid of these policies or we get rid of these camps. But I think that is
On a brighter note, the House passed 2 immigration bills this Thursday, one creating a path for young undocumented immigrants, including DACA recipients, and another to give agricultural workers a chance at documentation. The course of action of Biden's immigration plan remains unclear, and the future is unpredictable with an evenly divided Senate. This is Alexis West for State of Events.
Tensions are rising between London's Metropolitan Police and feminist activist groups after a serving police officer was charged in the murder and kidnapping of 33-year-old Sarah Everard. Everard was reported missing after failing to return on a walk home from a friend's house on March 3rd. The case has stirred up media attention due to the fact that Everard had taken every possible safety precaution. She called her boyfriend to let him know she was leaving and even walked a longer route home because the paths were better lit. Still, Met Police are urging women to stay indoors at night. A vigil planned in Clapham Common Park, near where Everard was last spotted alive, was cancelled due to COVID restrictions, but many gathered anyways. The vigil was met with force by the police. The murder has sparked a more broad conversation about violence against women in the UK, including often ignored cases with victims who are not middle-class white women like Sarah Everard.
For the first time since the turn of the century, Jerry Garcia Amphitheater in San Francisco's McLaren Park is getting a makeover. Built nearly 50 years ago in the heart of the Excelsior district, Jerry Garcia Amphitheater is overdue for some changes. Since 2012, the San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department has been planning to redo the site, and the pandemic finally gave them a window to start the project. Starting with the accessibility parking lot, they'll extend the pavement towards the stage to make room for food trucks and other event services. They will also upgrade the restroom and seating area, while adding drinking fountains and storage space for events. The surrounding area will be cleared of trees and debris for better views of the stage. Construction is on schedule to be finished by summer of 2021, which should be in time for the annual Jerry Day Festival in early August. The festival celebrates the life of Grateful Dead singer, songwriter, and guitarist Jerry Garcia, the namesake of the amphitheater since 2005. The notorious home that once housed Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly, Alcatraz Island is welcoming visitors back to its indoor tours after being closed from the year-long pandemic. Reporter Nouri Eleni Ahmed has the story.
Thank you, Logan. I am here at Pier 33 Alcatraz Landing, where thousands of visitors have already hopped off and on the Alcatraz Island tour and immersed themselves into the prison cell tour since reopening. It seems to me this is a victory for the tourism industry. After 3 months of closure, the Golden Gate National Park Service announced to reopen Alcatraz Island on March 15 to keen tourists. According to the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, Alcatraz Island, or formerly known as The Rock, attracts more than 1.7 million visitors each year. After a whirlwind of shelter-in-place orders, reopening Alcatraz, along with other historic attractions in the Bay Area, are expected to elevate the city's tourism economy by 42% this year. Following the guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), the Alcatraz cruise will accommodate 150 people maximum per boat for appropriate spacing. We talked to the National Park Service employee Charles Strickfaden about the safety measures taken upon reopening of the Alcatraz tour.
The ferry boats, they require, before we could all be on this dock, the ferry boats require a temperature check to make sure nobody has a fever. They require a mask to enter onto the boat. Everything's disinfected, obviously. You'll see the staff not only wear masks, but they also wear shields.
The grand reopening will allow visitors to have access to outdoor areas of the island, as well as into the Cell House audio tour, which was closed off to visitors last year. Visitors of the Cell House are required to reserve tickets in advance to limit crowds. Even with restrictions, it doesn't stop tourists from having a good time.
The building itself, it definitely has its historical aspect, but I think my favorite part is definitely being able to see San Francisco from the island itself was pretty cool. So yeah, I would definitely probably go back.
Well, at least from where I'm standing, the tour goes on, rain or shine. I'm Nouri Ahmed, State of Events.
A year of adaptation, uncertainty, and Zoom squares. A look at the challenges of remote learning as we reach the anniversary of our own San Francisco State's campus closure. Coming to you after the break.
They say this is garbage. Useless. Out of style. They say that this is obsolete. Half forgotten, twice replaced, and then some. You are the re-originator. An innovator. The treasure hunter. Master of uncharted territories and pioneered ideas. A voyager. No doubts to break outside the boundaries. You have no boundaries. You have the power to shatter the mold. You. To reshape the rule. A new class. New norm. There is no norm. You're the breath of a new revolution. And they say that this is secondhand.
Driver unexpectedly found himself in the spotlight after a nightmare of a ride in San Francisco's Bayview district. One of 3 passengers in Subakar Kodka's car refused to follow federal mask-wearing guidelines. When Kodka pulled over and insisted that the ride was canceled, 2 of the women coughed on him, tried to grab his phone, then pepper-sprayed through the window after exiting. Cyan Bannister, an early Uber investor, was shocked to find out Uber offered Kodka only $20, then later $120 to pay for the damage. She started a GoFundMe, and over $100,000 have been raised for Kodka and his family back in Nepal.
I will use it to take this legal matters forward. I have planned to put some of it towards my son's educations and make my parents' retirement beautiful.
Suspect Malaysia King was arrested after being caught for fraud in Las Vegas, and Arna Kimia later turned herself in. Kimia has since been released on bail.
China's capital, Beijing, was hit with the worst sandstorm they have experienced in over a decade. The sandstorm originated from the Gobi Desert in northern China. The sandstorm causing level 2 yellow alerts due to the poor air quality, according to the South China Morning Post. The air quality levels rocketed to unprecedented record. People were advised to stay indoors and to wear masks if they needed to go outside. Professor Matt Teffler of Physical Geography at the University of Plymouth reports this was not a sandstorm, yet a dust storm. Sand grains measure in 0.06 in diameter. What we see here in Beijing is less than 10 micrometers and can be extremely dangerous to draw into the lungs. Yet there is hope for the future in preventing these storms from traveling such far distances. The Green Wall project has been in effect to stop deforestation and desertification to help prevent these large sandstorms. A government-sponsored tree planting organization has been in effect since 1978. To this date, approximately 66 billion trees have been planted, acting as a barrier to these sandstorms. This is Blake Winter, State of Events.
Confused about graduation? Well, so are we. State of Events reporter Clarissa Gonzalez is on campus with the latest on Commencement 2021. Clarissa?
Thanks, Claire. You know, usually the perpetrator for canceled or postponed events is the rain. But when planning this year's commencement ceremony, the class of 2021 had some tougher conditions to weather through.
The graduating classes of years past know the welcoming roar that echoes within stadium walls of Oracle Park. It's a celebration that many students and their families eagerly wait years to enjoy. Though while San Francisco State is famous for their extravagant celebration at Giant Stadium, a campus shutdown last March forced a cancellation to usual commencement plans. In a statement released to the student body in early May, University President Dr. Lynn Mahoney stated, "We will work on a date for an in-person ceremony, hopefully in spring of 2021, and keep you informed as we learn when we are allowed to resume large events." And though plans last year were optimistic, we still stand in the face of looming risks. In an interview with State of Events, we virtually sat down with President Mahoney, who attests we are still not in the clear for a safe in-person ceremony this year.
I always weigh it against this, whose lives am I putting at risk? Having attended dozens of California State University graduations, I know our students like to have a lot of family there. They like their grandmas, they want their cousins there, and the thought of putting all of those people in danger for one day.
While commencement plans for the classes of 2020 and 2021 remain virtual, administrators still argue that an in-person ceremony will be made available down the line once it is safe to do so. In San Francisco, I'm Clarissa Gonzalez for State of Events.
Around this time last year, students and staff alike made the switch to learning and working online. As we prepare for campus to reopen, Christina Holliday reflects on the virtual experience with students both past and present.
In a year unlike any other, distance learning has taken its toll on students everywhere, going from the energy and excitement of a full classroom to the everyday confines of our own homes. As San Francisco State prepares to reopen for fall, I caught up with some students past and present about their online learning experiences. Stephanie Martin was teaching an EXCO class on superheroes last spring, recounting how she kept it going.
Every Thursday, I was able to set up something very simple for my students. I had them still do their final, which was they had to pick a hero or a villain. And they had to convince me if it was a villain, how they're a hero. And if they were a hero, how are they a villain?
For Catherine Leach, access to campus resources were very important to her.
It's also, not having the library staff to help you, use this computer or find this book. And it's like, when you're confused and you can't get your teacher's office hours, it's figuring out how to get to tutoring and things like that.
And for 2020 graduate Liz Alvarez, she was incredibly grateful to her professors.
My professors, I can say, were very flexible with deadlines and turning things in at the end of the semester, taking our time. I think that's what really helped us, is the professors being very, very helpful.
For State of Events, this is Christina Holliday.
As social distancing has become a part of our daily lives, many Americans have had to find new ways to safely exercise during the pandemic. With many gyms and other public recreation spaces closed, many people haven't been getting the exercise that they need. Not getting enough exercise only leads to living a sedentary lifestyle and can add up to suffering from pandemic fatigue. A study from Cambridge Open Engage shows that physical activity among Americans has dropped by 1/3 during the pandemic. The World Health Organization reported that only 23.2% of Americans met the recommendations for weekly exercise in 2019. Health professionals recommend getting the equivalent of 45 minutes of exercise at least 3 days a week. This could be both inside your own home or socially distanced outside. Still, experts say finding a safe place to exercise during the pandemic is crucial for both your physical and mental health. Coming up next, the Grammys take the stage for their first ever ceremony during a global pandemic, and the Golden State Warriors celebrate a very special birthday. Stay tuned for this and more from State of Events.
Firm Goldman Sachs has announced that they will be pledging $10 billion in investments supporting Black women in the next decade. This announcement comes just after the firm published a report finding that white American men hold 90% more wealth than Black American women. The company's global head of sustainability and impact, Margaret Onadu, says that the investments will be in resources that will help with housing, healthcare, education, and more necessities. A donation of $100 million will also be made towards charities founded by and for Black women. This new initiative is called 1 Million Black Women. Public figures, including Condoleezza Rice and Issa Rae, will serve on a council to ensure that the needs of their community will be understood and prioritized.
The San Jose Sharks came into the week riding their first 3-game winning streak since November of 2019. But it doesn't get any easier from here. as the Sharks head to the desert for 2 games against their arch rivals, the first place Vegas Golden Knights. San Jose's offense came alive this past week, scoring 9 goals in 2 games against the Anaheim Ducks. They look to carry this success into Vegas and prove they belong near the top of the division. However, Game 1 on Monday proved why the Knights are number 1. Led by goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury and team captain Mark Stone, Vegas controlled the puck the majority of the game and won 2-1. But Game 2 was a completely different story, as the Sharks came out energized in the second period and eventually took a 3-1 lead into the final frame. But it was Vegas who got the last laugh, as they would score 4 goals in 9 minutes to break San Jose's hearts. The Sharks look to bounce back this weekend as they host the St. Louis Blues. This past Sunday, the Warriors celebrated a much-needed win against the Utah Jazz and someone's birthday. State of Events' Danya Romero has the details.
Steph Curry's wishes came true when the Warriors beat the first-place team in their conference 119-131 on his 33rd birthday. Curry was the top scorer of the game with 32 points, 14 of those being in the first quarter, and 9 assists. After a 4-game losing streak and a difficult opponent, the Warriors surprised their fans with an unexpected win. Curry explains a change in strategy to gain the victory.
Yeah, a team like Utah, where they're so used to their patterns and their spacing and getting the ball moving, we wanted to set the tone early, just to try to take them out of those sets, make them work, and take those challenges on.
This win left the Warriors in 9th place with a record of 20-19. Next game, they play right here at home at the Chase Center against their rivalry, the LA Lakers. Keep up with the Warriors this season as they have over 30 games left. I'm Danya Romero, San Francisco, State of Events.
Baseball season is coming up, and our reporter Tyler Green is here to tell us about what we should look forward to for this upcoming season.
Well, baseball fans, don't you worry. The game you love is back, and is still as exciting. Sluggers like Bryce Harper of the Phillies and MLB 21 The Show cover athlete Fernando Tatis Jr. are looking forward to this longer season and even longer home runs, while sluggers like Joey Gallo of the Texas Rangers are looking to lead their teams to the playoffs. Players like Jock Peterson, who signed with the Chicago Cubs this offseason, as well as Francisco Lindor, who was traded to the New York Mets, are making great strides to get along with their teammates after offseason deals, while the Dodgers are looking to defend their title and hopefully repeat as World Series champions.
And this has been Tyler Green with San Francisco State University, State of Events.
It was all about the music this past weekend as artists took over the stage during the first Grammys in a global pandemic. Here's reporters Rumel Miller and Karain Titus with highlights from the show.
Thanks, Claire. There definitely was a lot to cover in one of the most anticipated award ceremonies of the year. From a career-defining performance by Lil Baby to Beyonce's record-setting achievement. Let's jump into some of the biggest moments of the night. The 63rd Annual Grammy Awards, also known as music's biggest night. The ceremony was pushed back a few months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Music fans everywhere waited patiently to see their favorite celebrities on stage. With Trevor Noah hosting, this is the Recording Academy's first year without a traditional audience. But as they say, the show must go on, and that's exactly what happened. There were many electrifying performances this year, and let's get into them now. Harry Styles kicked off his festivities with an incredible vocal performance of Watermelon Sugar, which he later won an award for. Lil Baby's performance for his record, The Bigger Picture, was the most powerful one of the night. The politically fueled performance highlighted issues with racism and police brutality within the United States, many of which were brought to the foreground during the Black Lives Matter protest last year. Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B stole the show with their performance of their hit record, WAP. We won't get too specific, but they definitely brought the energy of WAP to life on stage. Doja Cat oohed and awed with the performance of Say So, while Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars gave one of the grooviest performances of the night. These were many of the night's greatest performances. I'll give it up to Karain to bring in the night's biggest winners.
Thanks, Ramel. Artists did not let the pandemic stop them from collecting their well-deserved awards. Hot girl Meg Thee Stallion kicked the night off being the first female rapper to win Best New Artist in more than 20 years. The Houston rapper was also awarded Best Rap Song for her remix, Savage featuring Beyonce. Taylor Swift happily accepted her Album of the Year award for Folklore. This is her third time winning in this category. Beyonce has once again made her mark in the music industry. She won Best R&B Performance, making this her 28th Grammy. She now has more Grammys than any male or female artist. At only 9 years old, Beyonce's daughter Blue Ivy won her first Grammy for Best Music Video, Brown Skin Girl. Blue celebrated by turning her Grammy trophy into a sippy cup.
I want to thank God for
Her won Song of the Year for I Can't Breathe, which Beyonce, Billie Eilish, and Taylor Swift were also nominated for.
create change. You deserve this.
Billie Eilish humbly accepted her Grammy for Record of the Year as she dedicated her award and speech to Meg Thee Stallion. Last but not least, Harry Styles won Best Solo Performance for Watermelon Sugar. In comedic relief, Tiffany Haddish won Best Comedy Album for Black Mitzvah. She bursted into tears after being told the big news while she was present on another show, Kids Say the Darndest Things. Even without the traditional live audience of roaring fans, this year's Grammys Awards will go down in history. In Oakland, California, I'm Corinne Titus, State of Event News.
The traveling Immersive Van Gogh exhibit is finally in San Francisco. The 360-degree experience lasts an entire hour and is one that you do not want to miss. Reporter Farrah Walton is live at the scene.
Thank you, Logan. I am here in front of the Van Gogh exhibit that opened in San Francisco on March 18th. This multi-sensory experience features more than 500,000 cubic feet of projections, giving viewers a unique way of experiencing art. The audience will be able to step into Vincent van Gogh's most famous pieces, such as Starry Night, The Bedroom, and Sunflowers. Music and light come together to give viewers a sense of the landscape that inspired Van Gogh. Instead of still art, moving landscapes will be on display with more than 60,000 video frames set to music. The event is located at SVN West San Francisco, formerly the Fillmore West. Temperature checks will be taken upon arrival and face masks are required at all times. Social distancing circles are marked on the floor to regulate spacing. The Immersive Van Gogh exhibit will be in San Francisco until September 6th. Tickets are $40 for adults and $25 for children under 16. Additional ticket pricings are available for VIP access and flexible entrance times. Tickets are already sold out for the month of March. In San Francisco for State of Events, I'm Farrah Walton.
Well, I, for one, can't wait to check that out. As you can see, I'm a big fan of Impressionism, and I already have my tickets booked.
Absolutely. It's so great to see San Francisco finally able to slowly and safely reopen after the pandemic. Now that is going to do it for this episode of State of Events. Thank you so much for joining us.
And remember, the news never stops on our website, stateofevents.net, as well as our Twitter and Instagram pages.
For State of Events, I'm Logan Flair.
And I'm Claire Brennan. I hope you have a great day.